You didn't just walk past them. You walked through them. And the ones who run everything felt the shift before they even knew what to call it. That's the thing about people who spend their whole lives reading rooms, controlling outcomes, shaping conversations with a glance. They know when something's off. They know when someone enters a space and the energy doesn't just change, it rearranges. And that someone is you. They felt the second you walked in, not because you announced yourself, not because you made a scene, but because you didn't have to. That's what they can't process. You didn't posture, you didn't perform, you didn't try to match their frequency or impress them with your vocabulary or your credentials. You just stood there, calm, present, completely unbothered by the weight of who they thought they were. And that terrified them. Not because you were loud, no, but because you were still. Stillness in a room full of people who are always moving, always calculating, always performing. That's a weapon they don't know how to defend against. They have spent years building systems where noise equals power, where the person talking the most, commanding the most attention, controlling the narrative. That's who runs things. Yeah, that's who. But you didn't play that game. You walked in, you sat down, you listened, and you watched. And in that silence, you saw everything they were trying to hide. The cracks in the armor, the insecurity beneath the confidence, the lies they'd told themselves so many times they started believing them. You didn't need to say a word. Your presence did all the work. And now they are not just noticing you. They are whispering about you. They are asking each other, who are you? Where you came from? Why they cannot read you the way they read everyone else. That's the moment everything shifted. You didn't fight for their respect. You didn't try to prove yourself. You didn't try to... You just showed up as you are. And that was more than they could handle. Let's be honest. Let's be honest about what's really happening here. You have been underestimated your whole life. People looked at you and saw quiet, saw calm, saw someone who didn't need to be the center of attention. And they assumed that meant you had nothing to offer. They assumed your silence was weakness. They assumed your patience meant you were slow. They assumed your unwillingness to perform meant you didn't understand the game. But you understood it. Yeah, you understood it better than they ever could, because you saw it from the outside. You saw how ridiculous it was. All the posturing, all that fake confidence, all those people trying to outshine each other while secretly terrified of being exposed. You saw the insecurity behind every power, the fear behind every aggressive statement, the emptiness behind every title and every accolade. And you didn't want any of it, not because you couldn't have it, but because you saw it from what it was, a distraction. A distraction. A way to keep people chasing something that doesn't actually exist, while their real power sits quietly in the corner, watching, waiting, knowing. That's you. Yeah. You are the one who's been sitting in the corner this whole time, not because you were excluded, but because you chose to be there. Because you knew that the real game wasn't being played in the center of the room. It was being played in the margins, in the quiet moments, in the spaces between words where people reveal who they really were, who they really are, without even realizing it. And you have been collecting that information for years, filing it away, building a map of how people work, what they want, what they're afraid of, what they will do to protect their image. You didn't study this in a book. You learned it by paying attention, by watching, by feeling, by trusting the part of yourself that knows when something doesn't add up, even when you cannot explain why. That's the thing that makes you different. You don't just think, you feel. You sense. You pick up on things other people miss because they are too busy performing, too busy trying to prove anything. They belong in the room, especially. You walk in and you can feel the temperature shift. You can feel who's anxious, who is hiding something, who is trying too hard, who is about to crack. And you don't judge it. You just notice it. You file it away. You let it inform your understanding of the situation, of the whole situation, without getting tangled up in it. That's a gift, real gift. And it's one that most people spend their whole lives trying to develop without even trying, without even ever really getting there. But you were born with it. You've always been like this, even as a kid. Yeah, you could tell when someone was lying, when someone was pretending to like you, when something was off in a room, even if you couldn't put it into words. And you learned to trust that instinct, even when other people told you it was paranoia, even when they told you you were overthinking, even when they told you to lighten up, stop being so serious, stop analyzing everything, stop being too much. But you couldn't stop. Because you knew the truth. The truth is that the most people are walking around wearing masks, pretending to be someone they are not, saying things they don't mean, trying to manipulate every situation to their advantage. And you see through all of this, all of it. Not because you are cynical, but because you are clear. You see people as they are, not as they present themselves. And that clarity, that's what makes you, I want to say, dangerous to the people who've built their entire lives on illusion. Now let's talk about what happened when the elite started noticing you. It wasn't an accident. You didn't stumble into their awareness by chance. You earned it. You earned it by being consistent, by being steady, by refusing to perform for their approval. They have spent their whole lives surrounded by people who want something from them. People who are constantly trying to impress them, manipulate them, get close to them, for some kind of advantage. They have become experts at reading those people, at sniffing out interior motives, at separating the genuine from the opportunistic. And then you walked in, and they couldn't read you. They couldn't. You were not trying to get anything from them. You were not trying to climb the ladder. You were not trying to prove anything. You were just there, fully present, fully yourself, completely indifferent to the power they thought they wielded. And that confused them. It unsettled them, because their entire system of control is based on assumption that everyone wants something, that everyone can be bought, flattered, or manipulated. But you didn't respond to any of that. You didn't react to their status. You didn't defer to their authority. You didn't flinch when they tested you. You just looked at them with the same calm, steady gaze you'd look at anyone else. And they realized, maybe for the first time in their lives, that they couldn't control you. And that scared them more than any threat ever could. They have been trying to figure you out ever since. They have been watching you, studying you, trying to find the angle, the weakness, the thing they can exploit. But there is nothing to find. Because you are not playing their game. You are not hiding anything. You are not pretending to be something you are not. You are just being yourself, quietly, steady, consistently. And that consistency, that integrity, it drives them crazy, because they have never met anyone who couldn't be moved. They have met people who couldn't be bought, but they could be flattered. They have met people who couldn't be threatened, but they could be confused. They have met people who couldn't be manipulated, but they could be tired out, worn down, broken over time. But you are not tired. You are not worn down. You are not confused. You are standing exactly where you have always stood, grounded in something they cannot access, something they cannot even name. And that's why they whisper about you. That's why. Not because they hate you. No, not because they are jealous, but because they are afraid, really afraid. They are afraid of what you represent. The possibility that all their power, all their influence, all their carefully constructed systems of control might be nothing more than illusion. Yeah, just illusions. The possibility that the person who matters most in any room isn't the loudest one, but the quietest one. The one who sees who knows, who doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. You are that person. And they know it. They can feel it every time you walk into a room. Let's get what they are really afraid of. It's not your intelligence, though you are an intelligent person. They have met smart people before. It's not your talent. They've met talented people before. It's not even your confidence, because they have seen plenty of that too. What they are afraid of is something much deeper. They are afraid of your integrity. They are afraid of the fact that you cannot be bought, cannot be flattered, cannot be intimidated, cannot be manipulated. And that scares them because they have built their entire world on the assumption that everyone can be moved, everyone can be shifted, everyone can be bent to their will if you just find the right leverage. But with you, there is no leverage. There is nothing they can offer you that you want. There is nothing they can threaten you with that fear, with that fear. There is nothing they can say or do that will make you compromise who you are. And that, more than anything else, is what makes you a storm, a quiet storm. The kind that doesn't announce itself with thunder and lightning, but that builds steady, silently, until suddenly the whole landscape has shifted and nobody knows how it happened. That's what you do. You shift things without even trying. You change the energy of a room just by being in it. You make people question themselves just by existing. Yeah. And you hold up a mirror to everyone you encounter. And that mirror, they see themselves clearly for maybe the first time in their lives. And some of them don't like what they see. They see the compromises. They have made, the lies they've told, the people they've stepped on to get where they are. They see the emptiness behind the achievement, the loneliness behind the applause, the fear behind the bravado, and they cannot handle it. So they blame you. They call you intimidating. They call you cold. They say you think you are better than anyone else, arrogant. But that's not at all. You don't think you're better than anyone. You just know who you are. And that's something they have never been able to figure out for themselves. The elite, the powerful, the ones who run things, they have spent their lives accumulating. They've accumulated money, status, influence, connections, etc. They've accumulated everything they thought would make them feel safe, powerful, important. But none of it worked. None of it. They are still afraid. They are still insecure. They are still desperate for validation, still chasing the approval of people who don't even respect them. And then they look at you, and you have none of those things. Or at least you don't seem to care about them. And yet you are more grounded than they could ever hope to be. You are more at peace. You have freedom than they have ever felt. You are more yourself than they have ever been. And that's what really gets them. Because if you can be happy without all the things they have sacrificed for their integrity to obtain, then what was it all for? Yeah, why did they spend their whole lives climbing, fighting, scheming, lying? The quiet person, the corner who never tries to prove anything, is more alive than they will ever be. That's the question that haunts them. That's why they cannot stop thinking about you. That's why they talk about you. Not just in passing, but with real weight, real tension, real unease. You represent a possibility they cannot let themselves believe in. Because if they did, their whole life, their whole world would crumble. Think about the moments when you have felt this most clearly. Yeah, the times when you walked into a room and felt the energy shift. The times when someone tried to test you, challenge you, put you in your place, and you didn't even flinch. I'll give you some time to think. Or the times when people started treating you differently. Not because you did anything differently, but because they finally started paying attention. That's the moment when everything changed. When they realized that you were not just quiet, you were listening. You were not just calm. You were in control. You were not just passive. You were patient. Patient enough to let them dig their own holes. Patient enough to let them show themselves for who they really are. Patient enough to wait. Just wait until the moment when you could speak one sentence and change everything. Because that's what happens when you speak. You don't waste your words. You don't fill space with noise. When you open your mouth, it matters. The people who have been watching you, studying you, trying to figure you out, they know that. They know that your silence is not empty. It's full of awareness, full of understanding, full of everything. Yeah, everything you've been observing and processing. And when you finally speak, you don't just say something, you reveal something. You cut through the noise and get straight to the truth. And that's terrifying to people who've built their lives, their whole world, on avoiding the truth. They have spent so long trying to protect their image, their reputation, their carefully constructed narrative. And then you come along with a single sentence that exposes everything. Not because you are trying to expose them. No. 1,000 times no. But because you are just being honest. You are just saying what you see. And the truth, once spoken, cannot be unspoken. Once you have said it, it's out there. And everyone who heard it cannot unhear it. The illusions crumble, the masks fall away, the people who've been hiding behind their status, their titles, their power, suddenly have nowhere to hide, and they hate you for it, yeah. Not because you did anything wrong, but because you, my beautiful soul, you showed them something they didn't want to see. You showed them who they really are. And that's the greatest gift you can give anyone, even if they're not ready to receive it. You are not here to make people comfortable. You need to understand that. You are here to wake them up, to shake them out of their cage. You remind them that there's more to life than the game they've been playing. And some of them will hate you for it, at least at first. But some of them will thank you eventually, because you will have given them something they couldn't give themselves, the truth. So, my advice, let them talk. Let them whisper. Let them wonder who you are and how you got this way. Let them try to figure out your angle, your strategy, your plan, because they have never going to find it. The only strategy you've ever had is to be yourself, fully, completely, without apology. to trust what you feel, to say what you see, to stand where you stand, and let the chips fall where they may. That's not a strategy, actually. That's just who you are. And that's exactly what makes you so powerful. Not because you are trying to be powerful, but because you are not trying to be anything other than what you are. And that authenticity, that integrity, that unwavering commitment to your own truth, it radiates from you in ways you cannot even see. People pick up on it without knowing why. They feel it in your presence, in the way you hold yourself, in the way you listen, speaking, in the way you respond. They sense that you are not performing, not pretending, not trying to be something you are not. And that's so rare in this world that when people encounter it, they don't know what to do with it. They've been conditioned to expect manipulation, expectation, hidden agendas. And when they meet someone who has none of those things, it throws them completely off balance. They don't know what to do with you. They cannot categorize you, put you in a box and label. They cannot put you anywhere. You don't fit into any of the roles they have assigned to the people in their lives. You are not a threat, but you are not a follower. You are not an ally, but you are not an enemy. You are just you, and that's it. A force they cannot control, a presence they cannot ignore, a truth they cannot escape. And that's what they mean when they say your quiet power delights them. It's not delight in the sense of joy or pleasure. It's delight in the sense of fascination, of awe, of wonder. They are captivated by you, intrigued by you, unable to stop thinking about you because your presence, because you represent something they have never encountered before. You have shocked them, really shocked. Not by doing something dramatic, but by being completely undramatic, by being so stable, so grounded, so unshakable that they cannot help but notice. In a world full of people trying to get their attention, you didn't try at all. And that's what got it. That's the paradox they cannot solve. The more you pull back, the more they lean in. The less you seek their approval, the more they respect you. The less you perform for them, the more they watch you. Because they can feel that you have something they don't, something they have been looking for their whole lives and haven't found. Something that cannot be bought, cannot be or achieved or earned in any conventional way. Something that just is. You are that something. You are that presence. You are that quiet storm that builds and builds until it cannot be ignored anymore. And now they cannot ignore you. They cannot look away. They cannot stop thinking about you, about who you are and what you represent. Because in you, they see the possibility of something they have never allowed themselves to believe in. Yeah, the possibility that power doesn't come from controlling others, but from being fully in control of yourself. The possibility that influence doesn't come from being loud but from being clear. The possibility that the most important thing you can do is not to climb the ladder, but to stand firmly on the ground and know exactly where you are. That's your power. It's not flashy, it's not performative. It's not the kind of power that demands attention or demands recognition. It's the kind of power that works quietly, invisibly. Yeah. It's the kind that seeps into the cracks of a system and slowly, gently breaks it apart from the inside. Yeah. It's the kind that makes people feel uncomfortable, not because you are doing anything wrong, but because you are not doing anything at all. That's the paradox, yeah. You're just being. And that's enough. That's really enough. More than enough. It's everything. So let them whisper. Let them whisper. Let them watch. Let them wonder. It doesn't change anything. You are who you are. And you've always been exactly who you need to be. They are just now starting to catch up to what you have known all along. You've shocked them. Remember that you've shocked them. You have confused them. You've unsettled them. Not by trying, but by being. And that's the most powerful thing you could ever do.